I realised that we haven't done an introduction or anything. We just started talking about Linda. That's not even film related. It was just all YouTube.
Yes, right. Hello. It's a warm up. it's like our equivalent of the sort of thing they do on like news anchors do, where they just start going like making all those weird noises to like prepare. That's what we do. We talk about Linda.
Oh, I thought you meant like when the hosts chat to each other. Like I thought you were just doing Muppet voices for them talking back and forth.
No,
I realised it was the vocal exercises.
Vocal exercises, yeah. Hello and well, I can't do it. You do it. I really beg. I can't fake friendliness for very long.
Okay, you just jumped to like straight just Alan Carr impression. Right. Hi, welcome back to Real Opinions. This is the second attempt. I forgot to send a message to the guys to say we were doing another one.
No, well they can come on the third one. We need to establish the series before we add guests.
You know, with a good trilogy, they just stick to the same characters for the first two and then add three more than the amount already in it in the third one. Right, I've already got distracted. Right, welcome back to Real Opinions. Second attempt at an episode. So far, not going well as the first.
I think it is. I think we're talking over each other less. That's a start.
That's true. I think there's less of a delay though.
It'll be a more bearable listening experience, if nothing else.
That's our second. That's the tagline for this this episode. Episode 2, a bearable listening experience.
I think that should now be like the tagline for Real Opinions in general.
But so the premise of the show is that we talk about film things, but we haven't talked about any film things so far today. Maybe we'll talk about some, because whenever we're talking, we generally go back to films or insulting films or laughing.
It's the only way we know how to communicate with other people is through the sort of middleman of film. It's how we talk, is by making references. Otherwise, we have nothing.
We can't make a full conversation unless we're belittling a film that they enjoy.
I think it was James who told me that I just talk like Peter Griffin from Family Guy, and 90% of my sentences are just like, it's like that time when, or this is just like that movie. That's just how I speak.
So it's like, in your mind you're playing out Family Guy like side jokes.
Yeah, everyone's like, Harrison, why are you just staring at into space for a few seconds?
It's like, give it a minute. It's almost over.
Yeah, this is one of like the chicken fight ones that lasts a few minutes. One of the really long drawn out cutaways. But they challenged me not to make any film references for like an hour, and it became like, you watch Friends, right? You know when Chandler's not allowed to make fun of any of them, and then they all start saying things that are very easy to make fun, and he's just like pulling all those faces, and it was like that. It was like all of a sudden there were so many opportunities for film references.
I do find it funny that they challenge you to make a film reference and not to make film references, and so your response is to make a TV reference to something.
They didn't rule them out.
Like you're the kind of like, it's the arsehole genie in a film where they don't spot the loophole before they say the wish. I wish Harrison would just shut up about films.
Yeah, just talk about my favourite episodes of Full House or something for the rest of the day.
Did you ever watch Full House?
No. I just know that people who reference TV a lot reference Full House a lot.
It's a very American thing. It's not something that ever went round here. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
a lot of those like 80s American sitcoms are still just American sitcoms, whereas like modern ones translate over more, it seems. But like all those ones from the 80s just never seem to get here. Like I never see reruns of any of them or anything.
I think Cheers did well over here, but I don't think...
Yeah, Cheers is like the one, isn't it?
Cheers, Frasier, Seinfeld didn't do that well here.
Yeah, I've never seen Seinfeld on TV.
It's such like an iconic thing in America that you'd think...
I guess now we have things like Netflix and whatever that's more likely for those things. Like, I would have only seen It's Always Sunny because of Netflix.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. The topic that you brought up, because I can't think of anything to talk about, is just a summer recap, which I feel like I can't really do either because I've barely seen any films.
I think we can between us. There's not. I don't really think apart from a couple, there aren't many that neither of us have seen. Because like, okay, I haven't seen Finding Dory, but you've seen Finding Dory, and so I think between us.
That's true, and I never reviewed it.
So yeah, exactly. So between us, we can just about make it through. If we avoid Ghostbusters, if we avoid the one obvious thing, because I haven't seen Ghostbusters.
That blockbuster, Tarzan.
I never saw it. I kept saying, you know what, it's free. I'll see Tarzan. I just could not be bothered. I couldn't be bothered even when it's free to see Tarzan.
I think a lot of people just felt the same way, that they just couldn't be bothered to see it. I don't know why. It's not that I heard that it did badly or anything like that. It's just that I didn't hear anything.
Yeah. No, I didn't even bother to look. I have no idea if it was well reviewed or not. I couldn't tell you. It could have got like 4 stars across the board, and I would not have noticed. Because even like I watch YouTube videos just passively, but I still couldn't even be bothered to click on a YouTube review of The Legend of Tarzan. I just couldn't be bothered to passively hear if the film is good or not. I couldn't care less. Like, that is how little I cared about the quality of that film. It's just like it's one thing to not want to read reviews, but to not even want to listen to them because the film looks so meh is another thing entirely. I think if there was like a guy who reviewed films with like emojis, I still wouldn't be bothered to look at the emoji. I couldn't be bothered for a 1-word review. For a thumbs up or a thumbs down, I don't even care enough to know. I just don't care.
The thing is, you could with an emoji, because you could do the little see no evil monkey. just that would be perfect. That's a Tarzan review right there. That is the way to do it. But to go against your video that you put up a while ago about Rotten Tomatoes, I never use the site. Basically, I just never have seen the point in using it. But like, it's not just something that I go on anyway. But I just flicked on to see what Tarzan got, and it surprised me. It was 36, apparently.
Which way did that surprise you?
Well, it just seemed a bit lower than I expected it to be. Like, it seems like it's low enough that people would be, what? Okay, okay, right, okay. This will prove that I do not know how to use Rotten Tomatoes, because I just looked under it for the first time and I realised there's an average rating. And the average rating is 5 out of 10, which sounded right to me.
yeah, exactly.
Right down the middle, just bland. Anyway, right, we were going to go on to a summer summary. Summary.
That's it. That's what the video is called. That's it. We've got it now. Real opinions summary.
The thing is, if you're just listening to the audio, you can't see to me like doing like the jazz hands as I said summary. And also, I don't know if the pun works as well. It probably works just the same amount. It's just not funny. Right. What is the list of things that came out in the summer?
Okay. Shall we start just a little bit before the summer with what was sort of the first summer film, which was Civil War.
Okay. Yeah.
It wasn't proper summer, but it was summer enough.
It was a blockbuster, and it felt like a summer blockbuster.
So I think, seeing as me and Ben reviewed it, and I basically talked about it like 3 times, I think, in various different places. Maybe you go.
See, I'm gonna feel bad. I've watched it twice now. I think
you've watched it one more time than me, then.
You haven't watched it second time?
Nope.
I liked it. That sounds like I'm really negative because I do that, but it's just because I'm trying to remember it. Yeah, not that it was like at the time. I was genuinely like the first time. I had much more fun the second time than the first.
Really?
Because the first I felt a
bit underwhelmed because of everyone saying it was the best Marvel film ever. And I kind of went into it thinking this would be the best Marvel film ever, and then it was just kind of the same, just cut and paste style of a lot of it.
I do think it feels like my favourite Marvel films are still probably Iron Man 3 and maybe Guardians. I don't know. because it feels like they have like a voice. And I know that it's within like the Hollywood system, so they're only allowed to have so much personality.
Are you saying they're auteurs?
Yes, Shane Black is an auteur, but I mean, what I mean is like they have like there's definitely still the Marvel style and the Marvel like copy and paste things like the Infinity Stem and the big final in the sky and everything. Those things are all there. But there's definitely a sense of personality and a sense of like this man made it and made it his own thing, whereas both things the Russo brothers have done have felt like Marvel films and the most Marvel-y of the Marvel films, like the most like these are exactly what Marvel films are, but I think they're quite good at it. Unlike, say, maybe Alan Taylor, who made one of the other blander Marvel films and didn't do it as well, or Peyton Reed. Like, at least the Russos are quite good at doing the studio thing as studio-y as it comes.
I think it's just because they do a very clear style. Like, you're never really confused with anything that happens on screen. I mean, there was a bit of the moment, like you said, with the cutting in the very first intro scene.
First action scene,
yeah. But I think that's just due to the cutting, not the way that they've shot it or anything like that. And that might just be because it is a longer film, so they want to cut it up and speed it up in that beginning bit when it's least... The action's at its least important because it's just setting up, this is what the characters are doing already. But yeah, it feels like it's a very clean style, and that's just because, I don't know, maybe it's just because they come from TV, where you're used to getting lots of clear coverage so that everyone understands what's happening, and it's just to relay the lines or something like that. Like I just decided to flick onto Netflix the other day and I watched Arrested Development again from the first time, just like the first episode, and it was directed by the Russo brothers, and I was like, oh, this is weird. And again, it's a mockumentary style, so they're used to getting very clear, just generally just TV almost. And I always technically complain about the Marvel films, calling them just basically big TV movies. But to be honest, if they play up to that fact, then I can't really fault them for some of it. I mean, it's a plain style, but like you said, the Russo brothers have played into it the most. I mean, yeah, I'd say that they're the best at the plain style, with maybe Jon Favreau coming second.
Over Joss Whedon?
Yes, because... Oh, I was going to say yes because Joss Whedon screwed up the second one, but then I realised Iron Man 2 is a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Jon Favreau and Joss Whedon are equal. Yeah. But, I mean, I think what I liked about this one as much is that for the first time I felt like I cared about some of the characters.
Exactly. Yeah. No, definitely some of the characters that I especially cared less about as well, like Bucky and Vision. Less so Vision, but Bucky and, like, I've never found Black Widow as great as everyone else thinks she was, but she was decent here. Like, all of the sort of B-listers, I felt like, yeah, they're quite good. And even Ant-Man, I was like, he's actually really good. I like Ant-Man quite a bit. And so I did feel like I cared. And like you said, in some respects, for the first time, for certain characters.
Yeah. I mean, there was definitely some of the banter problems that I had from the other films where it just felt like these characters have met, now they're instantly like hitting each other with one-liners. Like, they're perfect, aren't they? Like, and it's just, I think it's just because again, they want to speed it up, they want to get to more action, they want to get to the proper scenes.
When it first happened, it was a Joss Whedon thing. Like, there wasn't that much banter, and then the Avengers happened, and it was Joss Whedon's thing. So you can't fault for that's Joss Whedon's thing. So it's fine there. But since then, it does feel like they've all gone that way, but without Joss Whedon writing them. And when you have Shane Black, like, Shane Black does his own unique style of banter, and so does James Gunn. But when it's not James Gunn, when it's not Joss Whedon, and when it's not Shane Black, then the banter can feel very much like the banter that you'd get in a Joss Whedon TV show when one of the lesser writers was doing it. Someone trying to write like Joss Whedon, but not quite as well as Joss Whedon. And I think off the top of my head, I think a lot of these things that I'm criticizing, I think of Thor 2 as the one where like that's quite evident. Thor 2 felt very much like someone told them to make it more Joss Whedon-y. But I can see that it's sort of evident a little here too in Civil War, a little bit.
And I think just going back to the TV point from before, I think the dialogue would be a lot worse if it wasn't directed by people that knew how to do comedy filming, because they've done mostly comedy TV shows, and I feel like the cutting between for some of the jokes and the timing for some of the jokes really helped sell what would otherwise. I could see them falling very flat. Some of the jokes, like, and I'd say that it's the first time since a film that's attempting the Joss Whedon style. Like I'd say it's the first time that I laughed at one of those. So not Shane Black, not James Gunn, just like the first, attempting the same style humour. And it was the first time that I laughed at one of those jokes since, because I think it was just the timing was decent for that. And and at the end I cared a bit more about the characters than I thought, and they actually came to an emotional conclusion as opposed to a big explosion-y conclusion.
Yeah, well, it has its peak at the airport rather than at the end. All the other ones have that save it for their big massive action finale, whereas this has its big massive action finale like 3/4 of the way through, so that it can do something a little bit. I mean, it's weird to say that a fight between three people is a little bit different nowadays, but it is, because they all end with big massive space lasers shooting at the sky. So having the three aside fight as the end is actually a little bit refreshing, just because it does feel a bit more intimate and personal. Because so many of these other big ones, because they go for scale, the ending can often feel like the villain gets lost in it, or that there's less stakes. Whereas having actual characters that fight for the end actually weirdly feels more climactic now than the big showdown against the bland space army, because it feels like there's more of a personal reason for it and that there's a bit more stakes. I also thought, I said this at the time and I still stand by it, I genuinely think that Nemo is he Nemo? Zemo, not Nemo. Zemo is a pretty decent villain. I think he's a pretty decent villain. Nemo. Because I understood him. And I think it was nice for the Avengers, of all people, to be fighting someone who wasn't just a big supervillain with a big army, but someone who had a personal grudge rather than a world destroying for vague reasons grudge.
I'd say I think it's my favourite Marvel villain in the films, unless there's like one that I've completely forgotten, except from Loki. Yeah, okay. But to be honest, I'm a bit negative against Loki now, just because I feel like I've grown a bit tired of him.
Yeah.
Which isn't fair, because at the beginning he was the best, obviously. And because they had one decent villain, they overused him a lot.
Yeah.
And I'd say that even though he's not a remarkable villain in any way, he's still the best Marvel villain, I'd say, besides Loki.
I think Loki was I genuinely remember like when the first Thor came out, and I thought Loki was great, and no one else did. And then when it was the Avengers, that's when everyone else was like, Loki's amazing. But I thought that Loki was at his best in the first Thor, because it was before he became like as funny, and it was all about his genuine sort of like relationship with his father and with his brother, and like it made you sort of feel for him, and he was like without building up too much, like a Shakespearean kind of villain who you understood and who was like you could buy into his anger and everything. And then as he came on, he's sort of been trivialized more and more and become more and more of he's the funny villain. Yay.
He thinks he's smarter than everyone else.
So when Zemo comes in and they've like just tried to do a proper villain again, it was like again with the sort of believable motivation, that worked better than all of like fucking Ronan. all the other bland, because they so many of them, because the Marvel heroes now are very powerful. It's not like Spider-Man where they've got Spider-Man's got some powers, but there's one of him But when you've got the Avengers, there's loads of them, and particularly like the Hulk and Thor are so overpowered that with the villains, they just go for the most powerful and the most sort of the ones that can do it on the biggest scale, where they're destroying the world, and it means that they don't go for the personality as much. As say you could with Batman, where Batman just fights dudes, but he fights dudes that are far more interesting with all the inmates from Arkham, and it feels nice for Marvel to just do a villain that is more about his motivation and more about who he is and why he's doing what he's doing than just about how tough is he and how much of a physical match is he for the Avengers and what kind of action sequences can we use him in.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's kind of stuff like that that just sets me up for feeling like I am going to be. I'm not the biggest Marvel fan anyway, but there's something about the building up to Infinity War that is just inherently exciting because it's just something that's never been done in cinema ever before. I mean, up to this point, it's still something that hasn't been done in cinema, but something of that scale still to come. But at the same time, it's he hasn't got a personal reason to attack or anything like that. It's just another I want to destroy the world villain, and he's just at the end of it, like you said, he's just a bigger bloke.
Yeah, no, that's exactly that's what they all are. And the best ones have been the ones that aren't. Like, I know some people really like I was talking to Ben and Chris and they thoroughly disagree with me. But I think that to this day, perhaps the worst Marvel villain is actually their first from Iron Man. Because he was literally just Iron Man in a bigger suit. And even then it was a shit suit that had all those weaknesses. It couldn't even fly up without freezing. But like that one to me was the blandest of them all because it was literally like, who's the villain? It's Iron Man but bigger.
I would counter you with Ant-Man. Because
no,
not
but at
only-
least
but-
I don't know. But at least he sort of at least he was a slimy douchebag from minute one. Whereas this was just a guy who halfway through they went, we need a villain. He's now a villain and he's in a big suit. At least the guy from Ant-Man had that sort of I don't know, smug demeanor that made him a bit more hateful.
Yeah, but then again, I would say that the villain from Iron Man 1, I can't remember his name.
I just
Obadiah Stane. Is it? I don't know if I've made that up. I literally could have just said gibberish. I don't know.
Obadiah sounds kind of right. I don't know. Anyway. But the fact that is that... So
Who's Happy? Is there someone called Happy?
No one's called Happy. Who's...
What's John Favreau called?
Oh, maybe it's Happy? I don't know.
I have no idea.
I only like the third one.
The point is that, so at least for the first one, he has a villain. He's connected to Tony. He personally knows Tony, and so he's kind of like, well, I've been running the company this whole time. Now you've showed up, and you're kind of annoying. And then the Wonder Kid shows up with a new weapon. He's like, I could really, really use this. And he's like, no, by the way, I'm going to screw over this thing that you've built for years. So at least there is a motivation for him to kill him and all of that.
There's a motivation. I agree with that.
There's a motivation in Ant-Man. And the thing that kind of, for me, balances it almost is, as you said, that the fact that his suit's actually rubbish at the end.
It's got a shit targeting system. It moves slower. It flies significantly slower, and then it freezes at the top. It's just crap. It's just useless in every way. I don't know why he thought I'm gonna make it bigger and clunkier would make it better. When the whole point of the suit wasn't its size, but it's how technically sophisticated it was and how advanced it was. But he just went, I'm gonna make it bigger. That was just bigger. It's not even better. It's just shit. What's that?
I would argue that therefore Ant-Man's villain is even worse because Peyton Reed saw Iron Man 1 and he thought, people really loved Iron Man 1. I'll do that. It's bad that the fact that they thought that would be a better... They thought it was a good... Because it's lazy. The first one, stupid. The second one, lazy. And I hate lazy more than I hate stupid.
Fair enough.
That's just my argument. That was a long time that we spent talking about Civil War, sort of.
It's fine. What's next? Jungle Book. It was fine. It was so fine. I just I'm thorough. It's I think it's the most confused I've been about a film's reception this year. Like even more than I've been confused by Apocalypse. It's obviously the other end of the spectrum. But I was sat there the whole time thinking, this is so average. This is just this is exact like when Ben saw it, he was like, "Oh, we were so wrong. We were so." And then I saw it, and I thought I couldn't have been more right. It's exactly what I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was quite bland. I thought that, contrary to what Ben said, I thought it did sort of go for this weird, darker tone. I didn't like the sort of photorealist approach to the animals because it was weird when they started talking. So it's like they look like proper animals, but then they start talking, and all of a sudden it's just weird. Like if they were cartoony animals, then I don't know. But it just felt odd that they went for this really realistic way in the way that the animals move and in the way that they look, and then they start speaking, and it felt weird to me that it was sort of doing this whole kind of like photorealist approach to everything, and then they were talking and sometimes singing, and it made it vaguely creepy, I think.
Yeah, no, I did find it creepy. Just in the trailer. I mean, I only saw the trailer.
I found it a bit uncanny and a bit strange. And then, like, it's also, like, the whole film is on, like, from what I understand, none of it was filmed on location at all, right? It's all against a blue or a green screen or whatever. And I just started thinking, why? Why is everything here not real? And it got to this point where I started thinking, why are they doing a live-action Jungle Book if the only thing on the screen at any time that's real is the kid? Because all the animals are CGI.
Yeah.
All the environment's CGI. Why is this even a live action film? Why? Just why? And then just little things like any scene where they did directly take from the cartoon, like the King Louis scene, it just felt flat. That's how it just all felt really flat and bland. Like when they do I forgot what King Louis' song's called, but when they do that, everyone's just sat down. Like in the cartoon, they're dancing around,
What?
and yeah, in the cartoon they're dancing around, right? And they're swinging, and everyone's dancing, and there's like Baloo and the panther are kind of sneaking their way in, and he's swinging about and everything. And in this, it's just Mowgli stood watching, while all the other whatever they call him, Gigantopithecus things, they're all just sat around watching as a Christopher Walken monkey sits down, waving his arms, going, "I want to be like you."
That's actually made me hate it.
Like it has no motion at all. I think he gets up for a little bit, but he doesn't move. Like he stands, but it's all in this enclosed dark room. So, exact opposite of the big, bright, open space jungle full of colours. It's just in a dark room with the big gibbon standing up, just sort of waving back and forth as he sings. And it's like, why is that? Why did you make that as boring and bland as you could? And that's how I felt about the whole film, really. And I know that no one seems to agree with me, but I just thoroughly don't see what anyone sees in that film, because I thought they managed to just take the Jungle Book and make it less fun. I think it was just people were so surprised. I think people just have such low standards now that anything that is serviceable is great. Like it works as a film. The narrative is coherent. 10 out of 10. Like I understood it. Yay! 2 thumbs up. But it's just so bland and just blah.
I think it had a lot of reasons for being very lenient, in that it's a remake that's not strictly bad, in which people go, "Oh, it's a good remake." Like it's people love to latch onto "I hate remakes," but I feel like the moment you give them an example opposite, they'll also love to have that as well. VFX, which, now that you're talking about it, makes me feel more like Disney did it so they can bag an Oscar later.
They are very good. They are very good, but also why?
Yeah. That's the thing, is that if you add one real person in, then technically it's VFX. It's not animation.
Wall-E has more, like, Wall-E has those videos where there's the guy in the room.
Yeah.
So Wall-E has more live action components than this film does.
So you've got the VFX, so people can go, oh, the VFX are amazing as well. You've got cast, which you said you found it creepy. I found it creepy just from the trailer. I found the voices very, like, they just didn't connect to the characters. That sounds
weird.
None of them do. They all sound like they're a famous person talking over animal footage. You know, like they have those shows where they get comedians to like voice over animals documentary footage. It's just like, what if we got Bill Murray to talk over a footage of a bear? It doesn't feel like the voice of Baloo. And not because I need him to sound like the cartoon. I just mean it doesn't sound like the voice of the character in that film that they made. It feels like they just hired famous people without even audition. They wouldn't have auditioned them, but without even thinking about whether or not it would work. It was just famous. Yes, famous. You'll do. Idris Elba. Why? I don't know. He's in everything now. Ah.
I was expecting, like, just from the trailer, like, I imagine at the end, like, it's just like one of them just saying a joke about being an animal, like Bill Murray go, oh, where's the apples? I love apples. And then Jimmy Kimmel comes in, like, clapping and laughing like it was a bit of one of his meme shows, or whatever he does now, when they try to get virality every week or something. But it did feel just disconnected, just completely disconnected. And there was a final point, but I've completely forgotten it now. But there's a lot of, I feel like there was a lot of reasons. Disney, just because
Disney can do no wrong.
Disney.
When was the last time Disney did a bad film?
I don't even remember. All the money keeps me sane. That's why I hate DC films, because I love Jungle Book. I love Jungle. And then the final thing that I wanted to put is that it's a children's film, and people are generally, critics just
go easy on.
Yeah, because they feel like, oh, but if it teaches a child not to be a dick, then this is pretty good, guys. This is pretty good film. There's pretty good experience.
There was a child film that got released this year, the Zootopia. I really liked the Zootopia, but I don't feel like I went easier on it because it was a kid's film. I just liked it because it was good. It had problems, and I criticised those problems, but I thought the one thing that Zootopia didn't do was grossly simplify itself because it was for kids. Like, it has all this, like, anti-racism theme that's quite overt, but at the same time, it felt like it was more than just don't be racist. It was kind of like, sometimes people are racist because they say things they don't mean to say, or sometimes they have genuine, like, maybe they've had bad experiences with a group, and it kind of makes them think this way. So don't just assume all racist people are bad, but also don't be racist. But also racism can go both ways, and it felt like it was very kind of reasonable and not just simplified and overly idealistic. It felt like it was something that you actually should show to kids because it sort of teaches them the complexities of racism, but in a very clear way. So there's no reason for them to be dumb. But if you ask me what the message of the Jungle Book was, I don't know. But it felt like it was all just the same thing about finding your home, find out who you are. And it's like, that's just every kid's film ever. Who are you? Find out who you are. And you... I should do kids' films. A slightly drunk man just going like, find out who you are, Timmy.
And Harrison, I understand you're here selling your new Disney film, Jungle Book. Is it Jungle Book? Find out who you are.
It's like the bit that they use in the trailer when it gets to the inspiring bit, and you'll see footage of like the kid doing something on his adventures, and there'll be a voiceover of his parental figure giving him a life lesson. But it's just find out who you are.
Hey kids, Find yourself in cinemas with Disney this summer.
My point is I don't even know what its point was, but I'm sure it was a very bland, generic message as well. I just thought
Its point was money.
Its point was money. That's true. I just don't know why everyone's giving it a pass, because there are so many bland, generic reboots that get hated on, like RoboCop or whatever, and this is just as bland and just as generic as those, but for some reason this one's different. Because Disney.
I think, like I say, it's just a combination of a lot of different passes that critics generally give to things. Does Zootopia count as a summer film? Because we kind of almost segued.
We never reviewed. Yeah, we never reviewed Zootopia. I think it came out around the same April-y time as those, so.
We can cover it. We can talk about. Well, we haven't talked about summer at all. We talked
So
about Civil War.
It's because summer was shit and everything good came out in April. Zootopia was good. Have you seen Zootopia?
Yeah, I have now.
Oh, right, okay, good. Did you like it?
Yeah, I agreed with everything that you just said just now about the racism thing. Like, I was going in expecting not very overt themes, but just because I felt like critics felt it was strange in that no one seemed like they fell into the middle line with the critics that I read, in that they seemed to say, "Oh, it was so brilliantly subtle," or "Oh, it was right in your face the whole time," and I felt like. I felt like it was genuinely, almost in the middle, if not actually quite well done subtly, because it's like you said, it's an easy way to teach it to kids. Like, race is a very, it's literally a black and white issue for a lot of stuff, but it's the fact that for a kid that's a lot harder to understand than saying tigers eat bunnies. That just makes common sense to a kid, and the fact that they can all live together in a city, that suddenly, as a kid, I can imagine that's a very, obviously they're not going to watch it and come out and go, racism's bad now, mummy. They're not going to say that, because obviously...
They're also not Victorian kids from the village of the Downs, so they...
That was worth the shilling!
One of the bits that I really liked in it, because it's such an old film now, I don't feel bad about spoiling, but the bit I really liked was when, I can't remember the gist, I've only seen it once, but the bunny is talking at the press conference, and she says something that she means kind of innocently about predators, and the fox takes offence to it. And it felt like it wasn't, all of a sudden it wasn't just racism's bad, it was anyone can say anything at any point and it could set someone off, and you have to all kind of chill out and understand each other. And it felt all of a sudden like it had gone from just racism bad to real genuine drama that I would have accepted in an adult film.
I mean, and it's a kid's film about two friends. It's a buddy cop film, sort of, and so I knew going into the third act they've got to stop being friends for some reason. That's just the given trope, and I think that it did it very well in that it was a issue that it used the theme as well as part of it. It was a sort of conclusion to the plot. It had it was almost a proper conclusion for some things, and then it added something else to the film, and it wasn't an issue that was resolved with, say, she got into trouble and then he swooped in at the last second because he decided to forgive her. It was a thing that showed that they could get over each other's the problems with each other by talking to each other. It was a thing where they resolved it by not being forced into a situation, not having to forgive each other in the moment. They just talked to one another, and that solved it. And I was like, that's actually for. And again, I said that sometimes critics give films passes because it teaches kids a good message. But in this case, I feel like that is it's not so much that it is a good message, is that it was a well-told message as well. And I think that is definitely something that it should be praised.
I thought some of the storytelling was quite smart. I thought that the central mystery was actually quite engaging. I thought it was a good mystery. I thought I laughed at parts. I thought it was funny. I thought it obviously the animation is very good. I mostly only have very positive things to say. The only glaring negative for me was the bloody song. Viewers, you can't see this, but Jack's having an aneurysm right now.
Like, as you were saying that, I was like, I can't think of a single thing that I thought wrong with that film. Why did I like come out of it not feeling like it was the like top 10 of the year? And then then I remembered that song, and then it all like clicked into place, like Memento. He suddenly like remembered everything. He's like, oh god, what have I done? But yeah, I despise that song. I despise everything it stood for in the film. Oh, it was just give it a break.
There's like that there's that really annoying like police receptionist character, the fat one that has the app.
Oh yeah.
That was annoying. That was very annoying, that part. And if it's just cut out him and that song, I genuinely wouldn't have any problems with this film at all.
Yeah. But it's not even the fact that it's like it's a tight. It's not even the end. It's like, if it was an end credit song, fine, just fine. I can switch off the film at that point. I can say, "Fuck you, Sakura. You're not part of my film."
Yeah, no, it's like credits don't count as part of the film. At that point, the film has ended, and you can't taint it.
Exactly. It's like reviewing a film well because it had a really great end credit scene. Yeah, you can't count that. But the fact when she comes into the city and it's like, oh my god, it's Gazelle. She's talking to me. No, shut up. I do not. Oh, what? Someone got attacked because of racism. We'll ask this pop star what she thought on the news. It's not like it's not. Oh.
To be fair, they do that in real life. That actually does happen. They ask people who have no business talking about racism all the time.
I'm getting quite tired now with this already. We've only done, what, 3 films? Should I scroll through and try to do like quick fire ones?
Yes, do that.
So I'm just going to start at April because we just did Jungle Book and Jungle Book was in April. Right, Hardcore Henry. Quick.
It's exactly what it is. It's one of the few, like, anything that's wrong with it is just something that's wrong with the premise. Like, there is no characterization, but that's the point. It could get a bit motion.
Like that to me.
It could give you motion sickness, but again, that's the premise. It does exactly what it sets out to do, and it does it damn well. I think Red Letter Media talked about this, and I agree with this fully, which is the only reason I'm quoting it, because it's the perfect way to sum it up. It's a film that if you broke it up into clips and uploaded them on YouTube, every clip would be like a 10 out of 10. Amazing. But when you string it all together in a film, it's less good. But it's a film where now that it's out on DVD, I probably will look up like action sequence Hardcore Henry and watch that bit and go, that was very cool. Because it is very cool. It's just when it's in a string, in a long sequence, it can get a bit nauseating and a bit tiring.
So from the sound of it, basically, it's like it's good as like quick distractions from real life, but not something where you have to pay attention to it. Yeah. Specifically, like you have to sit down and pay attention to it, right?
I also felt like the first half hour wasn't that good, and I think that's the only thing that stops it from being like perfect entertainment, is that the first half hour is a bit dull, and the action sequences there are very much like lower scale to the point of just, it's him running, and then as it builds up it gets better. But the early ones are sort of so kind of restrained that they're just a bit meh, and then but it's because they're very clearly trying to escalate with each one. So the first half hour is a bit, but then the rest of it is perfect as what it's supposed to be.
Huntsman's Winter War.
What was that film?
The Huntsman, Winter's War. The
I don't know what that is. You just keep saying it, but I don't know what that is.
I don't think the fans realised that either, because no one... I don't remember
what is it?
At all. You know the Huntsman? Snow White and the Huntsman?
Oh, Snow White and the Huntsman, right, okay.
I thought you were just joking.
No, I didn't... Right, Snow White, okay,
The Huntsman's... I'm getting this so wrong. The Huntsman, Winter's War.
I have a question, and I haven't seen the first one, so it is me talking out my arse, but it's a question I'm going to ask anyway. In Snow White, the huntsman's just the dude that's paid to kill her who then doesn't and leaves, right?
Yeah.
So he's like the guy that's in the story for like 2 minutes.
But so imagine you're in a studio and you say like, I want to make this film. Chris Hemsworth's going to be the huntsman. He's going to show up for 2 minutes, then leave. No.
No, but couldn't he be Prince Charming or whatever her prince is called?
No, because he has to have long hair because he's filming Thor in the summer.
Okay. That's our review of this film we haven't seen. I haven't even seen the first one, and I'm talking. I don't even remember seeing trailers for this film.
I remember seeing the trailers for the sequel more than I remember the film. But from this film, I watched the trailer. I couldn't tell if it was a sequel or a prequel.
Okay.
I've never had that before. And I found that genuinely hilarious. So we'll forget about that now. Midnight Special, did you see that in the end?
No.
No? Okay. I feel like that was another film where no one went to see it, but I never heard...
I saw Stranger Things. That's what Robbie Collins told me made me a bad person, because I didn't watch Midnight Special, but I saw Stranger Things.
Oh, no. What? Harrison, you awful person. So you didn't pay £10 to go and sit and watch 90 minutes of entertainment, but you did sit at home with a service that you already pay for, that already comes directly to your TV/phone, and there's 8 episodes of 45 minutes long. You're a disgusting person.
I am bad for not spending my money on something I didn't want to see.
Exactly. You should just give all studios your money, in whether you know it or not. Whether you know if you like it or not. Okay, Tidus is making stupid points for me. On Wednesday, the 20th of April 2016, Friend Request was released.
Best film of the year.
Released being the right term.
I watched our review of that the other day. I can't remember why, but I think I stand by exactly what we said then, which is just I can't believe a film made me want to watch Unfriended. I can't believe that happened.
That's all you need. That is all you need. I'm just looking at all these films where I'm like, I thought that was still going to come out. Jane Got a Gun.
What? Did that come out?
That came out in April.
In the UK?
Yeah.
Did it?
Yeah. Louder Than Bombs. That Jesse Eisenberg film. Okay, that's fine. Miles Ahead.
Are you making them up? Is this 2016? Is this 2017 April that you're...
Son of Saul. Do we want to include that in the summer review?
Yeah, it's spectacle, and it could have done with a giant laser firing into the sky at the end.
I liked that the villain was pretty good.
The villain being humanity.
But all being said, it's probably my favourite film that we've listed so far, so that's great.
Yeah. I think Zootopia is my favourite, which is quite weird.
More films also came out this year. Everybody wants some. Do we? I didn't watch it.
I'm not like a Linklater fanboy or anything. I like some of his films, but I had no cause to go see one of his lesser films. You know, like one of his films that got a lesser reception from the people that like Linklater. I just thought like, oh well, what's the point in me seeing it?
Dazed and Confused is probably in my, if not top 10, like top 20 films, I'd say. And this is supposed to be the spiritual sequel to it. And so I thought, like, to me, this jumps out as the film that should be incredible, that I really want to go watch. But just from seeing the first trailer, I just kind of lost all interest in it. And I know this sounds like it's a very Jack Petty comment, but it's the this is going to sound like but it's the first of his films to be done on digital.
Okay.
And I know that you're gonna. My point being is that before this point, all of his films seem quite, even like some of his crappier comedies, they seem like they've all got quite genuine characters to them, or they seem quite genuine. And the first thing that I saw from this trailer is that it all looked really false. And it just looked really fake and glossed over and too perfect. And that, to me, like, it just felt like someone, like, it felt like a student making a Linklater film.
Right.
And to me, just seeing the visual difference just helped me see it even more, if anything.
Yeah.
X-Men Apocalypse also came out.
We liked it.
Yeah, I liked it. I don't feel like I like it as much now that
Me too.
the critics have died down.
Yeah, I
I
think it was
mean,
part of our liking of it was sort of almost like a retaliation against the bandwagon.
yeah, I gave it 4 stars, I think, in the end, but that was rounded up from 7. So 7 out of 10. I feel like it's solid. I mean, it was also just again because I was fed up of. I think it's because I went into it. I've been so used to all the Marvel films from now on, just constant Marvel films, and it was nice to get into a film where I felt like I knew all the characters, and I felt
Yes.
like I knew what all the characters wanted, what their beliefs were.
Yeah.
Like that was such a joy to have heroes on screen where I felt like the fact wasn't so much that they were fighting this big thing, but also that they were fighting their own beliefs within each other as well. And there were a few other points about like race which weren't great, but at least they were in there, and there's nothing really like that in any of the other superhero films. They're not even tempting like that. It's period, so at least it's got something a bit more interesting with the setting than it's just slightly futuristic modern
And
times.
even though Apocalypse as a villain is lackluster, when we count
Yeah.
Magneto as a villain, he's still the best in any of these franchise films. He's a great villain. And that moment with him and his daughter, I mean, the baby, the fact he calls them my babies is a little funny, but it's still an emotional scene. And all of the stuff with him was like, it's good. He's always a good villain. He's never not been. And he's still the best villain that any of these franchises have at the moment.
Made this in my review as well, but I made this so basically when it gets to the end of an X-Men film, like the last one, it had the Sentinels in the. Sure, it was just an army attacking them, but it was a very physical fight at the end. So they were using their powers in interesting ways for physical fights, and they had to get in physical fights one on one. For this one, it ended with gazer beam, energy bolt, brain waves.
Days of Future Past had them, and in particular, I think First Class had them all using their powers in creative ways. This did have them shooting lasers and doing exactly what their powers are in very kind of basic ways. And also, like Days of Future Past, the actual main climax is actually less about them fighting like all these others, but it's actually about them trying to convince someone to stop, which is
Yeah.
much more unique. And even like the end of First Class is more about a similar thing. We're trying to convince Magneto to stop, and he doesn't. And then Charles gets shot, and it's all very story driven. This definitely did end with the big CGI spectacle that all the other ones end with.
I'd say it's the worst. I would say that it's the worst of the three, definitely. The only reason why I'm slightly more positive to it is just because, again, it's the characters that I've gotten to know over 2 films, and they continue to the characters very well.
Yes, definitely.
And so,
definitely.
I think the reason why I view, even though I know First Class, I know it to be a better film. I think I don't enjoy it as much. One, because I've watched it so many times now as well. I've watched it a strange amount of times, but it's also an introduction setting up the team film,
Yeah.
which I've seen a lot of times before as
Fair
well.
enough.
So, but it had to be done, and I think it was done to probably the best way they could have done with an X-Men film. So, anyway, a film that existence made me annoyed. Me Before You.
Oh,
Just-
that!
Just living,
Did you see that?
just
in
living
it?
proof that you. No, I did not.
Someone who did
Its
see that.
existence alone.
Someone I knew saw that, and I was really like, "Oh, you did? Who was it?" They assured me it was hilarious, but I will tell you this: it started just as I was starting my job, and I saw so many people leaving that film and it was only in one of these two states. They were either in tears of laughter or tears of sorrow, and it was only those. Everyone left crying, some not for the reasons they were supposed to, but it was literally everyone seemed to be pissing themselves with hysterics if they weren't middle-aged women.
It's just proof to me that film studios think people are idiots, because it's just 2 films cobbled together, and I'm surprised that people weren't. I mean, in the age of offence, I'm surprised people weren't offended by this film, in that they took. And it is stealing. It is stealing of an idea. I mean, it's straight. It feels like straight up stealing to me. It is. the French one. I always confuse it with the Brian De Palma film.
Is it
The Intouchables?
Intouchables. The
I feel
Brian
like
De Palma
Intouchables
film.
is Brian.
The Brian De Palma one is the Untouchables.
Right, so this is the Intouchables, because it's like French translation gone wrong or something like that. I don't know. It's In Touch, and that is, it's not brilliant. Well, a lot of people would say it's brilliant, and it's just a feel good film, and it's not something that I genuinely enjoy. It's just not my type of film, but I can see why a lot of people enjoy it, and it does what it sets out to do well, in that it tells a feel good story with also a bit of race relation as well, and it's important because it's a French choice. I mean, it's a French film, but it's also about class stuff in class rankings in France, because it's about the French ghetto and about how this guy's come out of the French ghetto, and it's about how they are immigrants into this French ghetto, and it's I watched it with a French student, so I do I'm not just intelligent. I did steal this stuff off them, but I mean, and that actually has an important basis to it, and it's about because he's an aristocrat, all that blah blah blah, and then Fault in Our Stars is also what it's taken from. So that's sure it's a teen love story. It's about cancer, but it's from a place of genuine. Even though the film itself is not, and the book is not, I would say, brilliant. I mean, I feel like it's very ham-fisted. It comes from a place of genuine. I feel like it comes from a place of genuine, like wanting to tell a good story and wanting to tell a believable. Because again, for some reason, I know a lot about John Green, and I know a lot about the reason behind that film and the writing of it and how much he was involved with the film, and it feels like it comes from a very genuine place. This feels like two films that were taken from genuine places, cobbled together and gone, why don't we make it even more generic, even blander, and try to sell it to as many shitheads as possible? And I just despise it with my core, because it treats people like idiots. It treats.
I know that it has several Ed Sheeran montages as well, which is
fuck me.
like not just one. So yeah, what's next?
And it's made me dislike Emilia Clarke.
Really?
And Pretty Boy. Don't know what his name is.
Sam Caffey.
Pretty Boy. Yeah, it's because the fact that they were trying to sell it as well. Well, Emilia Clarke also did Terminator, which, I mean, I can understand that for a paycheck. I mean, it could have been decent.
Yeah, they don't pitch these films as they're going to be terrible. We're going to reboot Terminator, but it's going to be terrible. That's how they sold it.
This one, I just feel like if I was an actor and I got the script and I go, oh great, I get to be disingenuous. Oh, great! I love that. I really love that. I really love milking people for tears.
While we're at it, because we never did it, it's still summer. It totally qualifies for the summer season. And we never did it, despite starting our series. Game of Thrones, just as an overall season 6.
Summer blockbuster season.
It's honestly, the Battle of the Bastards was the best blockbuster sequence I've seen this summer. It was the best action sequence I've seen. So I think it qualifies as a film almost.
I would go so far as to say that episode belongs in the at least top 10 medieval battles on film ever.
Easily.
Because it was, I mean, and it's partly, again, just because it's the technology and VFX are building up so that you can make them more and more believable. But the handheld shot when he's in the battle and horses are running around and stuff like that, it's the first time that I felt like I was really
in it.
Even though it's TV, like it's not even on a big screen, and I felt like I was fully in a battle and fully, like, it was very visceral, and it was gory, but it wasn't just to sell gore. It was gory because it was believable and showing the horrors of war as well, and it showed off interesting tactics as well, which I like.
Yeah, it managed to just because when like that sort of thing was pitched, because I have that enough imagination, I just imagined a battle on a field. I didn't think of things like people crawling over bodies and getting trampled and all those like imaginative things. That's good. Well done. It also helps that I actually care about the characters more than I do in a lot of these films because I've had 6 seasons with them. So I felt more invested than I do in a lot of these big spectacles in films by the time you get to them.
Oh, it's a massive help for that. I definitely feel that. Yeah. But at the same time, just because you've got so much extra time with the characters doesn't stop it from being such a quality show and such something that it's the highlight of my year.
And episode 10, I actually liked episode 10 even more because that opening sequence with the wildfire was just one of the coolest things. It's just one of the coolest things.
Yeah.
And it was such a great season. So cool. And overall, I know we never did it, but overall, I'd give that season a high 9 out of 10.
If it wasn't for that fucking Sam episode.
Oh, 7 or 6.
I think that was 7 or 6 because it was. I think that was the one where you were away or something like that, and you said, "Oh, I've missed Game of Thrones," and I said, "Great, you missed the 2 worst episodes of the season," and they were the 2 worst episodes of the season. If it wasn't for that completely padding episode, I would have said that it was bar none, like completely the best season so far.
Oh, really? Cool.
Cool. I know you like the first one.
No, the fourth one.
Right.
The fourth one as well.
Okay.
No, I actually think the first one's towards the lower end of my list, to be honest.
Yeah, I would say as well. I feel
fourth, second, sixth, and then I don't know the rest of the rank, but fourth, second, and sixth are the ones I really, really like.
The Nice Guys came out. That's my segue.
Yay! Nice Guys. Good film.
Yeah. It made me want to go back and rewatch Iron Man 3.
Really? Well, that's good coming from you. So
that's coming from you piece of shit.
I love Shane Black. And I felt like this was the weakest of his films that he's directed.
Oh, really?
I don't think it's his weakest that he's been involved in by any measure. But I do definitely like... I think I like Iron Man 3 more just because it's got the bravery to sort of make a Shane Black film out of a superhero blockbuster. And I like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang more just because it felt like The Nice Guys, but funnier. Having said that, I still loved it because I love Shane Black. I just think that when I go to a Shane Black film, I mainly go for the verbal comedy, for the one-liners and the sarcasm and the wit. And this felt like it was a lot more about the physical comedy.
Yeah, it did have a lot of physical comedy.
Yeah, and it was very good physical comedy, but I definitely lean more towards like one-liners and the dialogue jokes, which I felt like they weren't as memorable as they are in some of his other films, but it was good physical comedy. I liked both the characters. I liked the central mystery. I ultimately probably laughed more than I have in any other film this year, maybe, except maybe Deadpool. And it's very good. It is very good, even though I sound like I'm being critical of it. I do like it a lot. I'm sure I'll watch it hundreds of times when it's out. I guess it's just because it's not Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and I'll be holding everything he does to that standard forever.
See, I have not seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang or any of his other works besides Iron Man 3. I think even if I go back and watch Iron Man 3 again, I think it's for me, it's going to be better.
Anyway, I know. Iron Man 3 is very much like a film that personally appeals to me a lot, but I know a lot of other people don't love it anywhere near as much as I do. But I really like Iron Man 3 a lot. There
were definitely bits where I felt like it faltered a bit, but I quite like all the physical comedy just because I don't see that much
decent physical comedy in films anymore.
It is definitely different. Like I couldn't think of it. Like people keep sort of comparing it to like all these silent movie duos, and I see that, and I think it's true, and it is funny physical comedy. It's just physical comedy isn't what I find that funny.
Yeah, true. I just kind of found it quite refreshing.
Yeah, there were two bits where I like literally, and this reminded me of Iron Man 3 and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, where there were two bits where I was laughing, and then like a few minutes, like, you know, an inordinate amount of time later, I was still laughing, and I felt uncomfortable because it was weird being that one guy laughing. But, you know, there are at least two moments where that happened, and that's more than I can say for a lot of films, a lot of proper comedy films. And this isn't a proper comedy film. This is a detective film at the end of the day. Those bits, by the way, were the bit where he like dived to get the gun from his ankle, and it wasn't there. That made me, and then the other bit is a small bit. It's like shouldn't be like that funny, but I just thought it was when he was like hiding behind the car, ready to pop out of cover, and then by the time it had turned all the way around, he was just there looking at them, and I thought that was really funny. Like the stuff where it was sort of making fun of like cliches like that, or not cliches, but just the way things work in action films. That stuff was
I
really,
get what you
really,
mean.
really funny to me. It's not a cliche to have someone be undercover and then for them to stay undercover, but you know what I mean. Like it was a joke at the expense of like how you normally expect things to go. That stuff was really funny. I thought the characters were both really good, and for all of my sort of it's good, but it's not Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. It's still easily in my top 5 of the year. So.
And I think it's just partly because I think I'm just easier on the physical comedy, even though because I would say that generally verbal comedy is what I'm more into, but it's the fact that I'm so used to all these American comedies where they rely entirely on just talking to get jokes across. This isn't the standard American comedy where they just set up the cameras and the people improv in front
No,
of them.
I wish we
It's
had more
all
films
scripted.
like it.
Yeah.
For in numerous ways, from the fact that it's a detective-y film to the fact that it's like a mid-budget film, which is the rare thing. Like, it's either now blockbuster, Oscar film, or horror / indie. But to have this sort of like medium budget thing is a bit weird. Not like, I mean, it's weird and good. Like, we don't really get that many of those anymore. It's either you got to go all out or you got to save money. But this felt like they'd obviously spent quite a bit of money on it with the period details, and the action sequence at the end is not big but very well executed and not cheap looking. It never looks cheap, is what I'm trying to. It never looks cheap. It looks expensive, but there's no massive set pieces or anything. And that kind of like mid-budget film is something that I wish we did have more of, where we weren't just restricted to like you're either doing a big budget film or you're making an indie film. Which is it? Or it's an Oscar film. It's like we're gonna do an action film that isn't based on anything, and that doesn't necessarily need a massive like vehicular explosion fest at the end. That's good. I like that. More of that, definitely.
I'd say that I found there were moments where I did find it a bit cheap.
Yeah.
But that's just because I felt like it was moments where they were aiming a bit higher than the budget could allow.
Like what?
And that's effect shots.
Oh, okay.
I think just it. Not in terms of the quality of the filmmaking, just in that I felt like they just didn't have the budget or the means to make perfectly. Like the shot that just comes to mind is every time they try to do a panning shot, a transition into like a skyline or something like that, and it's just a tiny bit like clunky or off. And to me, that's like the standout of a film that's trying to do more with its budget than it has. And that's not bad by any means, but it's and if anything, it just made me realize this film has a lower budget than it looks.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Like because for all the other scenes where it's just shot normally, where they don't try effects, it looks like a high budget thing. It looks like a big budget film, and for even though I'd say that there were these moments where I thought that looks a bit cheap, it made me just kind of appreciate the film a bit more, appreciate what they were doing. So I wouldn't say them as a negative point, if anything.
But for all my sort of negativity, it's a very funny film and is easily in my top 5, potentially top 3. I don't know where it ranks. I need to see it again. But I like it a lot. I would probably give it a 9. So the reason I'm being so kind of like reserved with it is just because I know how much I love Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. It's one of my favorite films. And this feels so much like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. That's the other thing. It's not just like, oh, it's not as good as this totally unrelated film. It's like, this does feel like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang in a lot of ways. And Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is the funnier film and the cleverer film. You had Finding Dory. I didn't see Finding Dory.
Yeah, okay. I feel like I enjoyed it more than Finding Nemo, which a lot of people would not agree with that, and I think that's just because I've become tired to death of Finding Nemo, and so when I wasn't bored with this, I was like, this must be better. because I'm bored of that film that I've heard people talk about for 12 years. Like,
well, I have a very this is so objectively wrong of me, but I think Finding Dory, Nemo, is one of the weaker Pixar films.
I know, I'd agree with you.
I don't think it's that great. There's good stuff in it, but I find that I'm not that attached to the characters in a way that I am with other Pixar. Like, I don't care about Marlin and Dory anywhere near as much as I care about Woody and Buzz. Particularly Dory. She pisses me off. I find her quite irritating. And, yeah, I've never liked Finding Nemo that much. I don't know if that's going to be a positive or a negative for me going into Finding Dory.
I just feel like it really helped it. I think if it was less, the first one was less quotable, I feel like less people would go, it's amazing. Because now I feel like it's got a longevity with how many quotes people use all the time. I mean, I just find personally, I also find, I found Dory to be quite an annoying character in the first one. Even as a kid, I found her annoying. But this one, they toned down her stupidness as it goes on, which I suppose they're trying to make it so that she's growing as a character, but at the same time I just felt happier.
Is she the protagonist?
Yes. But it's not so much that it's entirely on her, in that Marlin and Nemo do have a sizable plot as well. So every time that they don't spend too long on her, and every time that they do, it's kind of in short bursts of stupid, and then they have a kind of emotional moment. But at the same time, there were moments where I thought, I can see why they, like, as in I felt like when you hear of Pixar films, when you used to hear of Pixar films, you watch them, you were like, there's a reason they made that film. It was for this feeling, this emotion, blah blah blah. Moments in Finding Dory, I was like, I can see why they made it, because they felt like they had the story to make it. A lot of other times, I felt like they just made it because it was popular. And there were moments where I felt like, oh, so they genuine had, like, there were genuine reasons to make this, but majority of the time, I just felt like they were playing up to what would make money, like giving this. I mean, it's basically Finding Joey. Take the character that people laugh at the most and make them the main character. They did that. They did that to sell it to more people, and then they toned it down a bit because they felt like it would work better with the film. They did all new side characters, which are all decent-ish. The octopus is actually probably the best character added, I'd say. So I'm realising I'm a lot more neutral about it than I thought I was. Probably just because I'm tired as well. But I mean, it was just it's again quite a forgettable film, and I don't think it's going to last as long as Finding Nemo has lasted. And they were just because I felt like there were times when they were really trying to like get me to feel more than I should just be feeling naturally because of the way that things are working. Like the thing that really aggravated me, because I'm petty again, the baby Dory. They keep cutting back to lots of scenes of baby Dory, and she's like if you asked the Disney designers, make something disgustingly cute, and then they were like, okay, so now we've used that as like a base plate, we're gonna like change it so it's not as annoying, and they go, no, that's in the film now. That's we've already done that. It's basically just like just imagine a blue blob, and then double that, like double the exact same size as the blue blob, and that's its eyes. Right? and then it talks with a slight. I'm doing it. That sounds offensive when I try to do the stutter. I try to do baby voice, but basically,
is it like, Ellen DeGeneres doing the baby, or is it a baby doing the baby?
It's like it must be a different voice. It is a different voice, but it's like, you know how in the first film, Nemo says an enemy,
yeah,
and it's kind of quite sweet. It's like they thought, oh, that bit was quite sweet. Let's get Dory to do that for every single flashback scene about every word. It's like, this is a shell, Sheila.
It sounds like Charlie, like Brazil.
But that aggravated me. And then the ending is like the thing is with Pixar films as well. Like, they can have big endings. I mean, think about Toy Story 3. It's sort of a big ending. It's a big fiery inferno, but it's realistic because they're just toys. They're just toys going into an inferno. When you think about it, they're just literally, they've been thrown in a bin and they're going towards the dump. That's the big climactic thing. Toy Story 2.
Well, the climax of
They're
Finding
on a conveyor
Nemo
belt.
is just him getting flushed down the drain, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just him getting out of a tank.
Yeah.
But basically, the end of this is so uncharacteristic of Pixar in how large scale it is. Like, it's massively a large scale, like, caper, and it doesn't feel Pixar-y at all. But and then the Sia song was the Sia song was bad.
Really.
This is the worst credits song tone change.
Really.
Since The Hobbit, the second Hobbit, with that Ed Sheeran song.
Wow. Why? What was it? Was it like?
And I would say that I did hate the Shakira song in Zootopia, but at least they were like threatening me with that the whole film. Like I knew that was coming. And it ends on like a happy note, and then it cuts to Sia, and she goes, like, unforgettable. That's what you are.
Is it that
and
song?
It's eerie. It's Unforgettable by Nat King Cole again.
The Watchmen song.
Yes. Which is really good in Watchmen, they ask Sia, right? So we're making this Pixar film about Happy Dory. What song are you gonna? Oh, okay. You're just gonna mutter words slowly into the microphone. Okay. And it's so eerie. It felt like it was. And it's with shots of like the characters having fun. But it's like got this eerie song to it. And I'm like,
that sounds like something
what
we
they did.
do.
It made me feel like it was a thing where they were dead the whole time.
It sounds like something we do to the footage.
Yes.
I thought we said that credit songs don't count.
Some credit songs.
This and Ed Sheeran. Star Trek we've already done. You could read that. The BFG we've already done.
BFG, bland. I was a bit kind on it, to be honest. It's kind of boring. It's just boring, and it lacks like a sense of adventure for a lot of it. Like I said this, I think I said this in my review, but like the first 40 minutes is just her and the BFG in a room talking. It's like, this is a whimsical adventure. I'm the BFG, and these giants are mean to me, and oh, BFG, I need to go home, and well, we need the BFG! She keeps saying BFG in this really high-pitched voice, and every time I did I was sat in my seat, I would scrunch up in a ball of anger every time she did it. She's BFG! Shush! Shush! And they're just talking. They go back and forth and talking. There are a couple of moments where it has that Spielbergian sense of adventure, but so much of it is just a bit boring. It's a weirdly boring, lacking in anything close to magic film. The fact that the best bit of the film is a fart joke is quite damning. And some people have said, like I know a lot of reviewers our age have sort of said, like, it might not be that great to us, but I can imagine kids who watch it now will grow up with it being their favourite film. And I couldn't. I could.
I was a dumb as shit when I was that age.
But I feel like they'd find it as fine as I did. Now You See Me Too. That's a film that is so spectacularly stupid, it actually manages to make the first one make less sense as well as itself, which is impressive.
See, we joke about that. I genuinely find it quite impressive that it did that.
I told you, I explained the ending to you, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is like, I remember as soon as it happened, I audibly went in the cinema, I audibly went, what? Like, just, like, I couldn't contain it. What? And then it's weird. It's a film made up of two types of twists. Ones that you can see coming from 300 miles away, and ones that you just can never see coming even after they've happened because they're so inexplicable. Like, there's a bit, I'm not going to spoil this to you, but I bet you can guess exactly what happens from my description, because the whole time I was like, yep, I get it. In the end, the horsemen get kidnapped and put onto a plane, and they're out, and it's night
Sorry,
time.
can I just pause you a second?
Yeah.
Is the plane actually parked?
Yes. Yes, the plane is fucked. That's exactly what I was going to say. I just think it's so obvious. It's so obvious. And then there's a bit where, just in case you hadn't got it, at this point, it was like, I cannot, but if anyone doesn't see this coming now, they are retarded. Because the bad guy takes all the horsemen to the outside the door and throws them out the plane, but you don't see outside the plane, you just see him inside throwing them out, and it never cuts to them falling or to anything outside the plane. It's just them falling, but they land on a map.
You shoot a man before throwing him out of the plane.
But it was so obvious, and it really, really like bugged me. But then it's followed by a twist that a twist that fucking Jean Grey couldn't see coming. It's so mind-numbingly stupid.
I think that's. I mean, I can't. I think that's just about it. I can't really think of any other films. That we have
Well,
to
that's
cover.
Suicide Squad. No one ever reviewed Suicide Squad.
You can do that if you want, but I mean, I think we covered it pretty well with the last episode.
Suicide Squad is a film. I saw it again last week, and
I didn't know you saw it again. Oh no, I did.
Yeah, I told you, because some of the stuff bothered me a little less. Look, it's a very flawed film, but one that I can't quite bring myself to dislike, because I like the characters and I like a lot of the individual scenes enough for me to sort of like kind of regard it as a guilty pleasure. But I won't pretend that it isn't massively flawed and that I wasn't disappointed when I saw it.
Okay. I'll watch it eventually. I don't feel like it's something that I feel is worth to see in the cinema at this point now.
Yeah, I couldn't like try and say, oh no, you should see it, because you shouldn't really. I just have like, I like these characters enough for like, particularly like the Batman related characters I have quite an attachment to, so that's why I like it.
Yeah, no, I love the Batman characters. I mean, I find the Arkham Asylum, that's why I find Arkham Asylum particularly and all those games really interesting and really fun to play, because if it was it a Marvel game with the same character and it's just like, hi, I'm bland, I want to kill things. Do you have a reason? No, I'm just playing. Like, I like that they actually have characters and they are crazy, but they are crazy in different ways, and they're crazy in that they interact well as well. Like, they're not just the same characters in an echo chamber.
All of the Harley stuff that is in the film is good, apart from a couple of the cringy one-liners. But like, there's a bit in the film where I thought, like, that I can see how in like a longer cut of the film that would be a really, really good emotional moment, where basically Harley is really upset about something and she's crying, and then all the other characters come by and she all of a sudden like sees them there and starts acting insane and kooky again, because she doesn't want them to see her cry. And it is quite sad, but at the same time, like, I felt like if that was in a film that made much more sense around it, like, that would be a really good emotional moment. And there are tons of bits like that. Like, that action sequence would have been really cool if I knew why anyone was fighting.
That was our kind of wrap-up of summer.
Very weak.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking through the films, it wasn't so much that I was like, oh, I missed all these films. I'm just like, I didn't go see these films. Like, I felt like at least I got...
That's the one thing I would say, is that, like, the last few summers we've had have been really good. Like, last year there was Mad Max and all kinds of cool stuff, and even the worst, like, the lesser things were still pretty good. The year before that was the year of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, X-Men, Days of Future Past, Guardians of the Galaxy, The Winter Soldier, lots of other things. It was like a really, really strong summer. And like for a few years in a row now we've had this, and it felt like maybe it's guaranteed to have a bad one soon. But this one didn't really disappoint me that much because half of these films I didn't care about in the first place. It just looked crap from the beginning. It's like I didn't want to call it a disappointing summer because I wasn't that excited for most things.
There's nothing that wanted me to get out to the cinema, in particular. There were a few things where, like, if I had the chance to, like, go see them beforehand or something like that, I would have been quite excited to see them beforehand. But nothing so much that I'm like, I really have to go see this as soon as it is out, or I'm going to be missing out. Like, they were all enough that I feel like I could wait for a few months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of hoping for Star Wars to maybe bring up the whole year.
I feel like Star Wars is the next film that I was saying that will get me out. As in, want...
Because this film review channel will not have a review until December.
Well, we can review, like, the films that slowly dredge onto video on demand services. And TV, right? Yeah, thank you for this. If you've listened this far, you're more dedicated than I am. I'm probably editing this in pain right now. But, yeah, thank you for listening. Well, I swear I don't think I ever want to do this one this length again. No offense, but I feel like it's going to be hell to cut down.
Don't cut. Only cut the Anton Yelchin
have a
bit.
stopwatch.
Just cut the Anton Yelchin bit.
Now I've got to leave this bit in because now other people will think, what did he say?
It wasn't meant to be offensive.
Did Harrison go on a rant?
No, it was honestly, it was meant as a sincere thing.
Oh, thank you for listening. You're a stronger man than I am.
Or woman. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll be back with maybe other people later. Find out who you are.